three panelists who are members of government, members of the Restoration Council, and also members of the diplomatic corps. Fellow Amazonians, this is your host, Comrade Fils Misori, present to you Face the People. Today is Saturday, the 19th March 2022, and we are live on ABS Africa TV, the People's Platform. Today, this is the second edition of the show. So please share as you join. I want to say the state of our revolution has never been this strong. You all watch the elected president, the newly elected president, Marianta Jumia, who made some wonderful speech. So today we're going to analyze that speech and we're going to talk much about what has been going on in the struggle. And please, you're going to enjoy the show today. Without much ado, I want us to welcome our panelist, Dr. Ngwambe. Is a former press secretary, is former undersecretary of communication. He's also member. He has been a member of the interim government, the cabinet. He is also one of the hosts, the former hosts of the ABC TV. Today he joined us live on ABS Africa TV. Dr. Gwambe, you're welcome to the show.
Chairman Fritz, it is an honor to be with you again. I know it's been it's been how many months since we had an opportunity to sit down together and discuss with our people, to educate our peoples. But before we begin, I want to make sure that I greet all Ambazonians, no matter where you find yourself. Thank you for continuing to be pivotal in the support of our liberation struggle. Over to you, Comrade Fritz.
Thank you. You're highly welcome, Dr. Ngwambe. You're highly welcome. The second panelist, you all know him. He has been always coming to the ABS TV. He's a very staunch member of the Restoration Council. He has been. He's also the chair of the Nguti LGA. You all know him. He has a lot of profile in his resume. You all know him. It's nobody else than Dr. Epa. Dr. Epa, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you, Comrade Fix. Thank Dr. Ngwambe for joining me today to discuss a few things regarding our struggle, I would say our liberation movement. I want to thank all the Ambazonian people, those on ground one, those in refugee camps, all over the world, those on ground zero, our restoration fighters. I want to thank everyone. I also want to thank the international community for listening, even though they are not taking serious action. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Epa. Thank you for coming to the show. Our tech panelist is our famous Reverend. You know him. He's the ambassador, former ambassador to the Latin America for Ambazonian government. He's been a human rights activist and advocate in the United Nations. He is, a famous activist. You all have heard about what he's been saying for a long time. He has a lot of things to tell you today. So please welcome Reverend Chang.
Yes, Chairman Fritz. It's a pleasure being here on ABS television once again. And I want to first of all salute our very powerful Dr. Ngwambe and our powerful Restoration Council voice, Dr. Epa. Fellow Amazonians, I greet you all, whether you're in ground zero or here in diaspora. Come on, stay tuned to ABS television and we shall be having a wonderful time together with love, joy, and greater determination to enter Amazonia, God willing, this year end. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. Thank you for coming, and thank you for always
Hello.
answering our call to come to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining, hit your share button before we start. Let every Ambazonian know that we are live and alive at this special show. Ladies and gentlemen, I come today to bring you this special show. Please hit your share button. Hit your share button before we start the show. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. And before we start, as usual,
Mhm.
we always pay homage to our fallen heroes, those who have gone before us. So a moment of silence for them, and let's have a moment of silence before we start the show.
But they have to enter because the other people.
May the soul of the departed rest in power. Those who have been massacred by the barbaric soldiers of La République. We know of those who have been massacred in Guzan. We know of those who were massacred in Batibo. We know Babanki. We know of Pinin. We know of Mautu. We know of Bali. We know of Bamenda. We know of Bafut, Ngabu, Bui, Kumba, and many others. May the soul of these departed soldiers and fighters rest in power. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start the show by trying to analyze what our president, Marianta Njomia, said in his speech. Today is it's a special day. We have three guests, Dr. Ngwambe, Dr. Epa, and Reverend Chang, who are here to tell you what they learned about the speech. And it was a powerful speech. We hear good news coming from all over Amazonia. You hear people sending us messages of hope, and that they have not been sleeping for the past few months that we had the transition. So, want to thank the Restitution Council, want to thank the transition team, want to thank all those who have been fighting for justice, making sure that Ambazonia become a democratic nation, not a nation of banana republic. So, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we all know about what the president said. You know what he that she emphasized on defense. She emphasized on self-defense. She emphasized on discipline. She emphasized on making sure that every Ambazonian is committed to this struggle. She emphasized on making sure that we make sure that we respect the constitution and institution. I want to ask our panelists, Dr. Ngwambe, you listened to the speech of the president. What is your take?
So, there's a section in her speech. Well, actually, first of all, let me make sure, because I didn't take a moment to greet Dr. Epa and my brother, Reverend Chang. Greetings to you all, my fellow panelists. I'm honored to share this platform with you all today. And I also want to congratulate President Madam Marianta on taking the helm of the interim government. I know they say uneasy is the head that wears the crown. I think that's a paraphrase of the quote. So one of the takeaways that I took from her speech is this issue of making ground zero really hot. And I want to quote her directly from her speech, where she said, "Our greatest primary task under this leadership is protecting our vulnerable people on ground zero while making every county ungovernable to the enemy from Fako to Ndonga." Our brother here, Reverend Chang, I know you announced him as a diplomat to the South Americas, and as a diplomat, I'm sure he will be able to tell us that the way you determine the diplomatic outcome in a struggle like our own, it is by what you do on the ground. It is by making the environment so unbearable for your enemy that they themselves are pleading and finding a way to separate from you in good terms. And all that starts from what we do on the ground. So I was really pleased to see, Madam President, that she pointed that out, that we need to make it hot from, as she said, Fako to Dongama to Ngoni to Mita.
Thank you, Dr. Ngwabe. Dr. Epa, you from the perspective of an elderly statesman, from the perspective of a chairman, and also from the perspective of a member of the Restoration Council, you have a lot to that you were trying to pinpoint from the president's speech, isn't it?
Yes, sure. I think her speech was very solid. She did not just touch on the making ground zero hard, but also addressed how our people should be taken care of, those in the refugee camps, those in prisons, those in internally displaced, those just in the forest, and also our restoration forces who are doing everything possible for us to make the La Republic bleed. As Dr. Ngwambe had just said, the first thing in this I will not say struggle, I would say our liberation movement is that ground zero has to be hard, and the Madam President made it emphatically clear how that will be done, how money that will be contributed, as opposed to the former impeached and removed President Dr. Sko. 90% of the funds raised will go to ground zero to support our restoration forces. And he also called for those who have not been doing a good job, because he said there shouldn't be anything like infighting, pointing guns to your own colleagues, and that all the restoration forces they should join hands and fight the enemy. The enemy is La République du Cameroon. And I want to emphasize on that very much, because that was something very good. You see, the struggle has slowed down because of the confusion and the manipulation of the enablers telling our restoration forces one thing or the other, and even within ourselves in the diaspora, confusing the boys and the girls who have put their faces out there, their lives to defend homeland, and we take it as a joke, thinking that we can be here in the diaspora and manipulate them, send them a few dollars, tell them not to fight. Some say attack your opponent, and they kill each other. That the president actually told them not to do that any longer. I think the speech was great, and we are looking forward in a few weeks or months for action to start happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Epa. That was good one, because you mentioned a lot what she said. The president mentioned a lot about self-defense, about discipline. Reverend Chang, you as a man of God, what type of discipline do you think the president was trying to say? Was she trying to talk about discipline within the interim government, or discipline within the fighters, or discipline within the diaspora?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Fritz. When the president talked on discipline, in fact, discipline is twofold. She talked on discipline in general, but first, there is the need for self-discipline. She emphasized on self-discipline. It is when self-discipline fails, okay, that we're not going to allow someone to be like a bastard, because Bible says that only bastards do not receive discipline ministered to them. So where you fail to discipline yourself as a soldier, as whoever in this struggle, the government will be forced now to look into measures that will bring discipline in order to restrain, not as a kind of retaliation. Doctor, por favor. Sorry. It is in this light that we see that self-discipline is a call to the consciences of all, those that are fighting, those that are supporting, those activists, all of us Amazonians, so that every other person looking at us will see us through the dream of our president, that the discipline must be instilled. And the instruments of discipline are going to be put in place so that nobody thinks that they're going to do anything and go hitch free, as maybe has been the case. So we really love the effort in that, and it is a call to all of us. And if we remember, she touched very seriously on the point of the aggressor, the Republic of Cameroon. That if we just maintain the discipline that is needed, even the Republic of Cameroon will not be able to fight us for the next 1 year. So this is a very strong message she sent to President Paul Biya of neighboring Republic of Cameroon. We believe that the international community or diplomacy doesn't work except on the basis of discipline. So when you begin to hear things like sanctions, those are disciplinary measures that are put in place to check and maintain world peace. Yes, so if I were going to just say like Dr. Ngwambe said, there needs to be an action on the ground, greater action on the ground. And the message is going stronger that we're not just, helping our restoration forces to make Ground Zero ungovernable. It is to kick out the oppressor. So let that message go and let it become so hot that the international attention will be focused on Ground Zero. Yes, this way, every ear will be turning to listen. Okay, let me hold it here because there's a lot. Over to you, coordinator. Moderator.
Yes, thank you, Reverend. A leader's most important job is to give people hope. And that is what she gave us during her speech. Hope of collaboration, hope of making sure that we have a united front, hope of that unity that we have been looking for. Dr. Ngwambe, you know better. You know better the interim government. You know what collaboration means, and you know what unity means. Can you say in your own terms what kind of collaboration you think the president was trying to insinuate when she said there'll be collaboration among all the groups, all the leaders? Well, what form of collaboration do you think is feasible? Dr. Ngwambe.
Thursday. Did I? Yes, in President Marianta's presentation on Thursday, when she spoke about collaborating with other, I'll call them liberation competitors. That's what I'll refer to them as. I'll refer to the other groups that are out there as liberation competitors. We all know who they are: the AGOV-CADF, the IG Care, and all SOCADEF, all the plethora of people who are actually engaged in making La Republic hot, because that's what she specifically spoke to. She indicated that those groups that we should look to find unity by collaborating with those who are actually doing work. You don't want to go and get involved in people who there's work to be done, but they show up and they want to put their hands in their pockets while you're doing the work. So she spoke about people who have proof of doing work on the defense front, self-defense front, and people who have proof of doing work on the diplomatic front, meaning sensitizing the international community about our plight, about the struggles of Amazonia, about the history, about how there were 64 countries that voted for us to have our independence, Resolution 1608, all those other things. We need people who are like 10 Kobo. We need people who are like Field Marshal 10 Kobo. That's what Madame Iya Marianta was talking about. And you all know our brother Field Marshal 10 Kobo's nickname is Talk and Do. President Marianta was saying we want to collaborate and work with people who talk and do. And that's the type of unity and collaboration I'm looking for. Unity for me, as in particular, and unity in any advice that I would give to her does not mean the ADF or AGFC dissolves their group and merges with the Restoration Council IG. Unity in collaboration does not mean Dr. Sako's IG merges, dissolves whatever they're doing and merges with us. So Kadef, the same thing. The IGK, the same. That's not what unity, especially for me, means. Unity means collaboration, meaning that if we know La Republique is coming this way, and you are on their left flank, and I am on the right flank, hey, you start to hit La Republique when they come by. You alert them when you know they're about to reach my destination, and then I start to hit La Republique too. When we both collaborate in that way, La Republique is not going to know which place to fight, right? They don't know which side for fight. They always say, don't go them back. People who are on the diplomatic front, if you don't go for some side, nobody talk badly about any other group when you go for that side for the diplomatic front. Put up that collaborative mindset. Say, hey, my other brother them or my other sister them, they come for back. They go to tell you the exact same story where me I'll dare you. So on I say, may you join, support we, defend the people of Ambazonia, and enable the people of Ambazonia to secure and protect the sovereignty that we were given when we gained our independence on October 1st, 1961. So I think that's I really like that portion of what President Iya Marianta brought up, because she did not talk about unity and collaboration in a naive way. There were specific points that she was talking about. People who are doing work defense-wise and people who are doing work diplomatic-wise. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ngwambe. Thank you, Dr. Ngwambe. Dr. Epa, it is very important when she mentioned about helping the refugees and also giving support to our POWs inside the dungeons of La Republique jails. I don't know, within the 6 months, what type of projects do you think she can bring in to help the refugees and also those people in jail? What kind of project do you think is feasible at this 6 months period?
Thank you for that question, brother. I'll say, Mr. Freaks. I would say that even though it's only 6 months for her, she can actually do a lot. The little things, but the faithfulness in them makes them great. In fact, if we put our hands into our pockets and contribute a little and help those refugees and those in prisons, those internally displaced, even those who in Douala, their locality, who are Ambazonians, though some of them did not even care, or some of them may not have even cared about this revolution. Maybe they thought they were in Douala and that was it. But also helping them, even with a cup of Gary, that would be very great. Everything is left on all of us right now to do that. She is leading us, and we have to cooperate, work with her, advise her in order for her to be successful. That is always what happens with any leader in the world. The leader in the world, any leader cannot do anything by his or herself. It is the people that have to support her in order for that to be accomplished. I think she can accomplish a lot. In the United States, you always have presidents who are newly elected. They will tell you that within 90 days, this is what they are going to do. That's 3 months. And within the 90 days, they have their benchmarks that they have to follow, and they have certain projects that they set. And within the 90 days, you see whether they are going to fulfill the promise or not. And the promise is not that they themselves will go out there and do it, but it is all the Americans who will do it. And by that time, that president will take credit. So 6 months is very far, and it's twice 90 days, and she can actually do a lot, regardless of the situation which we find ourselves. I hear Dr. Ngwambe has mentioned about almost 3 IGs, saying that the other IG, I think that of Ayuktabi, and then I had mentioned something of Dr. Sako's IG. I don't know whether Dr. Sako is trying to form an IG. I believe that he's not going to do that because he criticized, all of us who were with him, criticized the IG formed by Mr. Julius Ayutabi, and if he's trying to do the same thing, he should think twice because he had criticized that other one. So why should he do the same thing? That becomes hypocrisy. So I think he should, his collaborators and those who are good advisors to him, like my friend Pastor Commando and my friend Barrister Frujon, so will tell him, look, don't blunder, don't do anything like that. Then it's going to be a sham. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Epa. The newly elected president said she will focus on collaboration. It is left to know the form of collaboration that she will promote. But she also mentioned about children not going to school. I want to believe.
Comrade Fritz, let me say something about that collaboration before you go to the next panelist. She spoke about collaboration as Dr. Ngwambe has spoken. In fact, she specifically said those who are doing the job that can be verified either on the ground or on diplomacy. So we should take note about that, because there are people out there who are singing about collaboration and unity, who are trying to talk about collaboration and unity without actually knowing the ramifications of what had happened. We know the history of certain groups, what they have done either positively or negatively. If we have to collaborate, they should come out at this moment. Our president, Marianta, has given them a hand. Let them seize the opportunity and make sure that they come on board and do the right thing. Because the history of some of the groups, what they have caused among our fighters and among our people. So I just wanted to emphasize that. Thank you very much.
Yes, I was talking about the issue of children not going to school. She's an educationist. She's a teacher. She's a mother. So she's so concerned about the children not going to school. I don't know what form of educational system can be implemented within the system of when as war is going on. But Reverend Chang, I know you as a mentor, as a teacher also, you know better what form of education can be implemented within the framework, because she said that she will work with the UNICEF to try to bring in some form of peace settlement that can have a space for the children to go to school. So I don't know, from your take, what do you think can really help to push this program?
Yes, thank you. The President Marianta actually talks about the need for our children who have been out of school this 5 years to get back to school. In education as a whole, There is formal and informal education. We have to engage both so that our children don't feel the gap for too long. And then when you hear the president's speech, you know that focus, in fact, in war zones, in international law, international relations, when there are conflicts, when there are war, when there are armed conflicts, the international body, the Security Council, and so on, it is incumbent on them to get the parties, or I mean, just unilaterally create what is called a buffer zone, a place where people can school freely, can transact freely and safely. This call has to continue to sound clear on the powers that be, so that the buffer zone is created for people to go back to school. The education is a child's right, and we do not want for any impression to be given out there that we are struggling to violate the rights of the children. But again, right to life necessitates an urgent buffer zone to be created for children to go to school, as well as the right to self-determination, right to freedom, to independence. These are things that the powers that be, they know, and they may be dragging feet for one reason or the other, but we will press on, like the president said, and we need to support her in this venture so that our children can go back to school. In fact, when we talk about making the home front, ground zero, ungovernable, we must look at issues, things that are making a semblance of, normalcy back on the ground. We have to do this as a matter of extreme urgency, because those who stubbornly went to school and can now brandish their certificates are some kind of psychologically influencing those who haven't gone to school, who have been waiting to see that either UNICEF steps in, our government does something to rescue, ameliorate the situation. And so informal education, as former deputy for education, has to be put in place almost immediately, while we are pressing for the international community to come in and create a buffer zone. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. That was a good one. We have seen a lot of our children not going to school. We have seen a lot of children being killed, some being massacred, some being raped. All sorts of human rights abuses have been committed on our children. And we hope that all those doing that will be brought to book. We must, those responsible for these heinous crimes against our children, against our mothers, should be brought to justice. The culture of impunity must stop. All the massacre, all the killings going on must stop. Dr. Ngwambe, you mentioned self-defense, and the president mentioned in her speech that 90% of all what will be raised will go directly to ground zero, for their farm tools, and going for a rigorous campaign in home front. You as a former president with person within the government, you know how it's better managed. But I don't know if this can be good or implemented. When 90% goes to ground zero, I don't know how that can be implemented.
Well, I mean, the funny thing about it, right, is that if you look at the way in the previous government, Dr. Epa would also know about this too, and I even believe Reverend Chung would know about this. There was a thing called the National Strategic Plan. Inside that National Strategic Plan, funds that were collected from the draft, or from the draft, were allocated in a certain way. A certain amount went to the LGAs, a certain amount went to the counties, and a certain amount was apportioned for the federal government. And when you look at it, a majority of that money did go to the LGAs. And for those counties or those areas in Amazonia that function as a county because the LGAs are not fully constituted yet, you could say that a majority of the money went to those counties. So it is a practical thing to say that 90% of the money can go through those who to ground zero, especially via those who are handling our brothers and sisters of the Ambazonia Restoration Forces. I think that's something that is very feasible. I think the biggest challenge that we need to figure out is the Madam President needs to put together a team that is thinking every day about different strategies of how to clandestinely bring things into ground zero. She has to put a team together to figure that out. They have to be all kinds of different tricks, shortcuts, all kinds of. I mean, the possibilities are endless, but she needs to put together a team to figure out how that is going to be done. I know she also talked about focusing on homegrown production. You know, that is a very essential component because at the end of the day, I mean, you see what is going on in the war between Russia and Ukraine. They're trying to put sanctions on Russia, and you can imagine if they put sanctions, if La Republic tries to do some things that will keep us from getting our certain materials, it would be very intelligent of us. It would be very smart of us if we were able to find areas within our vicinity to source materials that we can use to continue to carry the struggle forward while we open up a corridor to continue to bring in external materials that need to come in. So yeah, I mean, 90% of things, 90% of financial support going to ground zero, that's very, very feasible. The biggest issue is ensuring that those items arrive there. That's the biggest issue, and the only way you will ensure that is if you are coming up with all types of plans of how you will bring those things in, practicing them before even giving the 100% go ahead, so that you know that, hey, this particular idea that we wrote down on paper, we practiced it, it worked. Let's put it into effect for everybody else to benefit from, and then you have to come up with the backup plan and another backup plan because La Republic, they're not fools. They're going to be trying to infiltrate us to get the drop on information about some of the things that we're doing. So we're going to have to need to be able to change up once they discover our techniques. So that's one of the things I recommend to Madam President. Put together a team that brainstorms on how to get things in and out.
Yeah, Dr. Gwambe, can you talk a little bit about? She mentioned these kidnappings going on, and how some guys who call themselves the ARF go about kidnapping for ransom, and that there will be consequences for those people who are doing that.
So I mean, those that strange people then where they enter in that kind of funny business. They know be Ambazonia Restoration Force, because if you are a restoration force, if you were, your mindset was about liberating your people from those who have been oppressing us, you would not engage in those kind of activities. So I cannot give the appellation of ARFs to any idiot that is involved in ransom taking or kidnapping. I cannot give them the appellation of a liberation fighter, a person fighting for my freedom. They're fighting for their own personal, useless and senseless and short-lived benefit. I mean, I'm sure many of you have been seeing the reports of coming out of Bafut, the people who have been the kidnappers and ransom takers who are affiliated with Seven Kata, who have been killed by La Republic, that have been coming out of Bafut because of the stupidness that they've allowed themselves to be involved in. I mean, I don't know how any of these people thinks it makes sense in the middle of war to be doing the things that they're doing. I mean, I was reading the history of Zimbabwe, of ZANU-PF and ZAPU, ZANU and ZAPU, and the things that they were doing. And one of the primary things that they had in their mind was that you only executed your homegrown citizens as a last resort. You only executed the indigents or go after the indigents of your homeland as a last resort. Your primary enemy is the people that you're fighting against. And there's a reason why you don't, harm your people, because your people are supposed to protect you. You know, I've spoken to my friends and family back home, and they tell me in the beginning of this liberation struggle, they used to cook for these our brothers. They used to give them food freely, but because some funny elements have gotten involved in this thing to do stupidness, they've tarnished the image of those who are actually doing a good job. So, I mean, I understand where Madam President is coming from. We will eventually deal with those people when this liberation struggle is gone. I mean, you think you're getting away with it now? Ambazonians are going to remember you. After all, why are we doing this LGA by LGA concept? Is because the African man or the African woman is essentially, you know, identifies himself with his ethnic group, his tribe. So those of you who are committing all these atrocities, your tribesmen, your ethnic people, they know you. And when this is all said and done, they're going to point you out, and Ambazonian justice is going to deal with you. So you're not going to escape it.
Doc, thank you, Doc. Thank you very much for that elaboration. It is very critical. You know, last year has been a wake-up call for all of us, and we have to make sure that we change that culture. So everyone in this struggle, we have to be, you know, innovative. We change from those days of uncertainties. You know, we are putting a lot of resources, but if things are not moving, we have to change, you know, change the way we do things, because we cannot be doing things the same way. Then we expect something, you know, they say you do the same thing every time, you expect something different. We still have the same result. Dr. Epa, what areas of government do you think that the new government, the new cabinet should be thinking of? We have defense, we have communication, we have foreign affairs, we have health department, and we have so many of other departments. But I think for this period, they should be focused on certain departments that can really do some job at this time, because a lot of cabinet members, a lot of appointees, but they do nothing. So can you tell us what kind of department do you suggest the new administration should focus on?
Thank you, Comrade Fritz. Let me say something that Reverend Chang and Dr. Ngwabe have spoken on. Let me go to this question of schools, that our children have not gone to school for 5 years on counting, and the next school year is coming, is remaining just maybe about 4 or 5 months, and the international community will start by saying, oh, children should go to school, children should go back to school. La Republic will be making some noise, oh, children should go back to school. But meanwhile, they are occupying those buildings and killing our children who are going to school. Now, Madam President said about having buffer zones, and Reverend Chang has spoken about it at length. And I think it is possible that our children could go to school in September if UNICEF and the United Nations decide to cooperate with us, if they do their job. Something has happened in Ukraine, and all of them are running up and down. Sanctions have been put on Russia, and even the Africans leaders are those making noise about Ukraine, about Russia. They have neglected what is at their own backyard. Even La République du Cameroon is writing about Ukraine. This is a shame, hypocrisy, nonsense, as far as I'm concerned. More than 35,000 of our people have died. Children have stayed out of school for 5 years, and we don't know when they are going to go to school. La République and France have decided to hold us hostage. Now that America and the rest say, oh, let La République go to Switzerland for negotiations and dialogue with no conditions and all that, but they have done nothing to force them. They'll be the first people to be crying again that it's going to be 6 years, our children have not gone to school. It is possible. Our children can go to school, even during this summer. All our UNICEF, part of United Nations, is to pressure the United Nations General Assembly and make sure that buffer zones are set up in every county or every local government area. In fact, it is simple enough. Let there be a ceasefire. If the Republic lays down their arms and leave our territory, our restoration forces have no one else to fight with or fight against. And our children will go back to school. That is why this interim government, in the past, had always said, oh, we advise that children should not go to school because of the war, because of their safety. But if parents deem it wise and feel that they want to take their children to school, that should be their own decision. Which I think Dr. Sako and his cabinet made a very good decision about that. That they should not be blamed that it is us, the Ambazonians, who do not want the children to go to school. And some parents have taken the risk to send their children to school. And some who did, their children have been killed. So the blame does not come to the interim government. But if the United Nations, the international community, was so concerned as they preach, if the African Union, our children would have been going to school. This war would not have been like this. Now, let me go back to the question of 20% of money going to Ground Zero, which Dr. Ngwambe spoke about. Indeed, that is possible. In the past, it was that 20% will go to the federal government, 50% will go to the county. That was 2020. That was 2020 draft, and 30% will go to the local government. Did that actually happen in all the counties? No. I'm sure the 20% went because the federal government knew the way to get the money, because some of those who drafted sent the money to the National Treasury, and so they were able to take. Some counties, like where I come from, Kupe Manungu, were drafted as a county. And for that 2020 draft, Nguti did not get a penny, 1 penny from that draft. Now, 2021 draft came. It was that federal government will have 20%, the counties will have 30%, and the LGAs will have 50%. Personally, I don't know where that one goes now, because within the last year had been a lot of crisis. We just know that monies that went to the National Treasury, many of it has not been accounted for. So, but with the new president, I believe that the money will be accounted for. In fact, anyone, I want her and the team to understand what I'm saying right now. I mean, our president, Marianta, he don't select a team that's not going to do the job. I will not vet them and confirm them in the Restoration Council. So better do your vetting very well before you send the names to us in the Restoration Council. You don't want us to vet and then disqualify them and you start all over. I'm not in this struggle for anybody, but for the Ambazonian people. My face is out there. I don't play jokes with anybody. Money meant for business is money meant for business. We are not going to have what happened with the former president. I would say the former presidents, because Ayotabi left, nothing was left in the coffers. I understand it was $5,000. And Dr. Sakotu has been impeached and removed. We are fighting now regarding with the National Treasury. We don't want that again to happen when it comes to this new government. So I've made the point very clear, and I hope our president and the vice president are taking note of what I've said. I don't care whether anybody is my father, my mother. Once I know that it is wrong, it is wrong. Truth is truth. That can't repeat itself. Better do your homework. When you are doing your own internal vetting, check through the LGAs, who has done what. Contact the LGA chairs and some counties, and to find out the truth. Because people are making big mouth now, but let that not happen again. This should be the last. The Amazonian people will not want that any longer. Then let me go to this question of what President said about the homegrown consumption or materials. Yes, that is what has been helping us so much, and we shall continue to do that. But we also need other materials. For random takers, Tongwambe has already warned, and I cannot emphasize that. Now, let me go to your question. Dr. Fix, can you remind me that question again? I've been speaking a lot.
Yes, it was just about what are the departments that you think the president can focus on: defense, communication, foreign affairs, health department, diplomacy.
I think if it is well planned, all what you have mentioned can be done. It's a question of selecting people. Originally, my vision was that we get 17 members, 7, representing every department. And that department is set up by a few strong, optimistic people who are visionary and they know about transformational leadership, not just talking, and do the work. And all can go on simultaneously. We need defense. That is the first. We need diplomacy. We need communication. We need education. We need health. Department of Health is very important. We need Department of Homeland to organize and make sure that our LGAs and counties are solid. So we need all this. But the priority to me is defense, communication, and diplomacy. Communication is very important.
Okay, thank you.
So that would be my answer. But it depends the team that will come on board and members who will be in different departments. We don't need a department with a lot of people, get surrogates, and those who are loyal, as the former president was saying, get people who are loyal to him. I'm not the one who said it. He himself said it on air. So it's better to get loyal people who are loyal. Yes, it's good to get people who are loyal if they're going to do the job, if they are not thieves, if they are not dubious. But when they are dubious, that loyalty becomes a problem. And that's why we have the problem right now. We need this interim government that we're trying to address. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. That was a good one. The president also mentioned about the Swiss-led negotiation. I want Dr. Gwambe to come in here because all Ambazonians are hoping a day that the leaders of Ambazonia will sit face to face with the government of La Republique. You know, when two people meet, when two countries meet. So I don't know your take on this, Dr. Gwambe. She mentioned about forcing La Republique to the negotiation table. What is your take about what kind of means can be used to bring La Republique to the negotiation table?
Thank you, Chairman Fritz, for that question. You know, in a way, I almost want, not even that almost, I want to bring in our brother Reverend Chang in on this conversation because he had a diplomatic portfolio to kind of help to see if he can help give us some insight based on the discussions that he was having. He doesn't need to tell us the name, the countries or the people he spoke with, but based on the people that he was interacting with, what were they telling him was required of us to take them serious, to take us seriously, for them to take us seriously. You know me, as I said at the beginning of the show, when you were talking about one of my takeaways that I took from the president's speech. You determine the diplomatic outcome of anything that you're in, especially this struggle, by what you are doing on the ground. If you are not holding territory, if you are not making it so unsafe for La Republic to not want to come into your territory, they're not going to see the need to negotiate with you. That's if they're thinking that they can just show up and wipe you out, why should they go to the negotiating table? That's why they're playing all these games that they've been playing now, and France is giving them the cover. Because unfortunately, let's be real, Ambazonia, we have not done what is necessary to give some 1-2 punches that really hit French Cameroon back, and they sitting there like, damn, you know, we need to go to that table. You know, I mean, for me, that's the only thing that's going to get a French Cameroon to. We got to hit them hard. We got to hit them economically. You know, any oil that they're benefiting from us, that needs to stop. Any diamonds that they're benefiting from us, that needs to stop. Any taxes that they're collecting from us, that needs to stop. The free movement of their troops in and out of our territory, that needs to stop. You know, back in 2021, our brothers of the ARS, especially Field Marshal No Pity, Bui, Bafut had some spectacular moments. Where else had some good moments? Field Marshal Tenkobo in Dian has had some spectacular moments. Field Marshal the King Oliver the Great, he had some spectacular moments. And we need that to be more consistent. Imagine if these 5 or 6 areas that where these brave warriors are from were active like this. If we could have them active like this simultaneous every month for 12 months, do you think La Republique would not be trying to find a way to go to that negotiating table? Remember when we were hitting their trucks everywhere they go, their trucks could not move freely. You know how expensive it is to buy those trucks. If we were doing that every week per county, do you think La Republique would not be finding a way to go to that table? If we cut off their supply to the oil that they're benefiting, if we found a way to cut off the supply to the oil that they're benefiting, do you think they would not be quick to go to that table? And that's why, you know, when I look at this thing, you know, the question you asked Dr. Epa about what are the departments or that need to be in place: defense, communications, humanitarian, diplomacy, and finance, right? Just those, and just focus on those, because freedom is not free. Don't let anybody fool you about that. When you're even trying to move out of your parents' house, right? That wasn't free, right? We're trying to get that freedom. That's not free. Our freedom is not going to be free. We know what it takes for it to be done. Inside the Defense Department, you need to put people in there, like I said, who are going to be strategizing about how do we get tools, materials into the country, right? That you need to. They have to have different plans, different schemes, different angles. They need to sit down and put a sub-department inside the Department of Defense that is doing that. I've heard my brother Jay Card, the great activist, talk about this all the time on the show. Find people who are going to use their passports to go and meet with defense contractors, right? People who produce guns. In the US, there are tons of people who produce guns. Russia sells guns. Tons of countries, North Korea sells guns, right? China sells, there are tons of countries that sell guns, right? Find a way that you can get guns from these people. Send these people, essentially, we have country coordinators, right? Partner the country coordinators with someone from the defense and let them have these meetings with some of these countries to figure out how they can supply us on the low, quietly, right? All the people who produce weapons, Smith & Wesson, right? Derringer. All these people, go and meet them, find out how they can supply us quietly. The intermediaries that can be used. Russia, I was reading about the Wagner Group, right? Russia had the Wagner Group. I can't remember what the Wagner Group, who's been protecting the oil fields in Libya and also has been helping to train Central African Republic during their war. That Wagner Group is helping to train fighters in Central African Republic and in Libya, and helping to supply them with material. The U.S. government, they had Blackwater that was doing this. I can't remember what Blackwater has become now, but these are people that we need to have our defense people going and meeting with them, discussing with them, and finding out what is going to cost us to supply us. That's what I do. You know what the finance needs now. We know what the financial needs, because the finance is going to need to fund these people who are making these trips. The finance is going to be the people who fund these acquisitions. Diplomacy is going to need to be funded also. Diplomacy is going to be the people knocking on the doors like what Reverend Chang was doing. You understand? Now, so we just need people who are going to be sitting in meetings and strategizing and thinking. People who have a team player mindset. You know, when I was in school, right, university and even high school, I'm a sports guy. I played basketball, baseball, did a little soccer. I wasn't that good at it, but I'm a team guy. So I know what it means to work in teams, where you don't necessarily have to be the scorer, but because you went and you blocked, your scorer was able to get by and score. That's the type of people I'm hoping Madam President brings around her. People who have a team player mindset, who know that they don't necessarily need to be the scorer. They can do some blocking for you so that you can score, so that Ambazonia can score, so we can get this liberation struggle wrapped up in a timely manner. Thank you, Chairman Fritz.
Thank you, Dr. Ngwambe. You know, the predecessors were mostly talking of classified information. It means that everything was so classified that we don't know what they were doing with the Defense Department. So I don't know if this time will be the same thing, because we don't want things to be too classified that we don't even know what action is taking place. So thank you, Dr. Ngwambe. Let me turn to our diplomat to give us his take about the future of the Swiss-led negotiation. The people at ground zero, at home front, they want some answers. They want to know what is expect of them, because we are fighting on two fronts, at home and abroad, and they want to know if what they are doing will lead us to something fruitful for a peaceful settlement between La Republique and Ambazonia. Reverend Chang, I want you to come in here. Oh, the audio has.
I'm sorry. First, Secretary Chris is the person who initially started the Swiss-led process. So when you rubbish Secretary Chris Toffer Anu, and then you go and use that a diplomatic approach as your main victory in your government, how do you think the people are going to see you serious? Does Secretary Chris have to go around and shout that I'm the one who did this? Was it not the power that be, I mean the head of government and the CIC that was to say, let's handle this man with care, let's see that he's on our boat to move from one place to the other so that we instill what? Confidence, integrity, and respect. So, but I will say the Swiss-led process is still ongoing. Just like it was being said earlier, that if we do not cooperate, if we do not collaborate, if we do not see how we can fine-tune our various pressure groups, our various restoration movements, so that we can speak out there with one voice, the international community will have a second thought about actually giving us the independence or restoring our independence or recognizing us, for fear of what? Fighting on the ground. Well, some people use the issue of Southern Sudan very negatively. But if we have to use it positively, we must come to agree that the pressure for the Swiss-led process is not as as heavy as it should be, and it has to redouble in this moment for the negotiation to actually hold. For that to come to pass, we do not have to give an impression that we have three governments or interim governments. No, it is not to our advantage. We may have 12, 20, 100 pressure groups clamoring for our independence. But when it comes, because why I agree with what Dr. Epa said and what I've always said, is that this is not like every other revolution under the sun. Ours is so different. You can't compare it with Nigeria. That is why Dr. Yaba's going to have this with the Biafran was a kind of minus. We are restoring an independence that has United Nations instruments to that effect. It is this instrument that we have to use. If we have to use them in the defense, we have to do simultaneous action, heavy action on ground. And we do not bring out a slogan like, we will make the place ungovernable, but all the government institutions are sitting there with no record of any, attack of any sort.
Yep.
All right. This is a strategy. I will not give out all the strategies on air. Even in diplomacy, I wouldn't. But I will also say that foreign affairs is not a mystery. These people are sitting there, all the diplomatic corps of the world are sitting in Yaoundé. And then those of Republic of Cameroon are also sitting outside there in other countries. I will add my advice to the president, our president now, that it is not a plus if you minus any of the departments that are already existing. Like Dr. Epa said, it is better to get them at work because you see the division that is within. It will put somebody who is trying to sit tight in power to continue to take advantage of all those that you are trying to sideline. You want to downsize? No. This is a government, and this government on the diplomatic front doesn't have to be lacking in any of the major ministries that represent a nation. It is in this light that when you pick economy and finance, it has its own role to play. It has to address the issue of how we were using. Hello? Can you hear me? So I'm
Yes,
bringing this to
Yes.
the Swiss-led process to say that Team Act is that which was programmed to arrange for our diplomatic talks, negotiation at the Swiss.
thank
International
you.
pressure have tried to ask the Republic of Cameroon to go to the negotiation table. But just like Dr. Ngwambe said, if things are trying to get back to normalcy, then why do you think the international body will focus on that? There's need for greater firepower. There's need for that Foreign Affairs Department to redouble efforts of manifestation in the places like the United Nations General Assembly, the Commonwealth, and the various embassies abroad. Besides knocking those doors and giving feedback, giving accountability. If we do this, we will surely pull the Swiss talk to a restart, and we'll pull the Republic of Cameroon right there.
Thank you very much, Reverend Chang. Thank you. I just want to make this clear: the unshakable resolve of this generation should not be undermined. This generation of never again generation, they are bound for their statehood restoration. So there's no joke about that. There's no other thing that they want. So I want to tell our people that no matter what is going on, no matter what is happening in the diaspora, they should know that everybody is bound to go to Boya. Everybody is bound to go to Boya, and we shall have our full restoration. So let's move to this other topic, which is about what La Republique is going through. We have seen that there is a lot of economic sabotage that has been levied on La Republique, and we all know one of the second largest employer in the that they consider their country is CDC, and CDC is down. All the monies, the oil, the rubber, the everything coming from CDC has been cut down. So they are having a lot of financial problems. Sonara is also down. Those are the companies that they consider theirs, whereas those companies are in Amazonia. That is our company. And CDC is the second largest employer. It means that CDC alone can employ all of Amazonia. And let's see from our technician what some of the people in La Republique are saying in this video. I don't know if the technician has already, but you listen them speaking.
Bonsoir, grand frère. Super, super, super. Allez, c'est quoi ce bordel là?
Je suis au resto avec des amis, donc je passe seulement 5 minutes avant de me déconnecter.
Mais je ne te coupe même pas, je te laisse parler.
Non, je pense que c'est très important le travail de conscientisation que tu es en train de faire parce que, en fait, comme je l'ai dit à d'autres personnes, ce qui se passe, et on le sait déjà ici, c'est qu'il n'y a plus d'argent dans les caisses. Il n'y a plus d'argent. C'est la France qui a dû donner 201 milliards l'autre jour pour qu'on puisse payer les fonctionnaires. Sinon, c'était l'arrêt total. Et la vie chère va étrangler parce que le pays n'avait déjà plus de réserves. Donc, il faut l'argent, les devises pour importer du pétrole. Il faut l'argent pour importer le blé. Parce que le blé, c'est le pain, c'est les beignets, etc. Le pétrole, sinon l'énergie en quelque sorte. Or, ils ont dépensé 2000 milliards pour l'énergie. On n'a rien vu sortir de terre. La conséquence de ça, c'est que c'est impossible. Et les premiers à ressentir la hausse de la vie chère, ce sont les enseignants, bref, les gens pour qui l'État a des arriérés. Et ces arriérés-là, c'est à peu de 5000 milliards. Parce que les enseignants demandent 180, mais si tout le monde se pointe, ça va faire 5000 milliards. Donc, il n'y a pas ça. Donc, pour anticiper, ils se disent, mais alors, si ça bouge là, on est cuit, ils veulent faire des impôts pour l'État constitutionnel. Ça ne va pas se passer comme ça. Il y aura la grogne sociale qui va monter au Cameroun. Parce que les prix chers sont là, parce que l'État ne pourra plus subventionner. Et c'est la faute de l'État. Parce que qu'est-ce qu'ils ont fait de tout l'argent qu'ils ont pris pour pouvoir construire les barrages? Aucun barrage ne marche. On a détruit la Sonara. Qu'est-ce qu'ils avaient fait? La Sonara n'avait pas d'assurance. Si la Sonara avait eu l'assurance, c'est que l'assureur aurait payé pour la reconstruction d'une nouvelle Sonara. Donc il y a tous ces problèmes-là et c'est eux les seuls et uniques responsables. Et ils avaient arrangé un plan avec Le Drian, Jean-Yves Le Drian en France, qui devait les protéger pour qu'ils fassent leur donner la couverture. Mais les événements qui se passent en Europe de l'Est, là, que tout le monde peut suivre, ça a surpris tout le monde. Le Drian l'a mis sous la touche. Il n'est plus qu'un figurant aujourd'hui. Dans un mois, il sera parti. Donc, il veut l'anticiper là, rapidement, là, en mars, pour faire une mutation constitutionnelle. Je pense pas que ça va se passer comme ça. Nous devons être...
Thank you, technician, for that brief excerpt. I just wanted Ambazonians to understand that economic sabotage that has been done on La Republic is working, and we should only continue the economic sabotage. You have heard from this is one of the members of government. He's telling the other lady that the fact that CDC is shut down, Sonara is shut down, there's no more oil flow, there is economic crisis going on in La Republique. And he said that they borrowed money back from France. So France borrowed the La Republique government money to pay some workers. You saw of recent, you had the teachers of La Republique, they were doing some protests. That is to tell you that there is economic crisis going on. And I want to tell Ambazonians that we are winning, because this is to tell you that no matter what is going on or matter what kind of propaganda is going on, we have to increase our economic sabotage on them. All the French companies that are making money, they are the one helping La Republique to fight this war now. The government is down financially. So we should know that. Let me go to Dr. Ngwambe. Dr. Ngwambe, what is your take on this? Considering that all this while, La Republique cannot even pay their teachers, they cannot even pay their workers, the country is down because money is not coming anymore from oil, from Sonara, CDC, rubber, timber, all these companies are down.
You know, I mean, for me, when I look at it, that they need to realize that that's what happens when you go into a senseless war. You know, what was one of the things that caused the French Revolution? It was because they were funding the American Liberation War against England. That drained the treasury in France, led to all the history. That's one of the compounding things that helped lead to the French Revolution. You know, some historians will even say that one of the reasons that the Soviet Union kind of fell apart was the quagmire that they got themselves in Afghanistan. Now come to French Cameroon. Whether they like it or not, or whether they choose to see it or not, they're going to get wrapped up in a quagmire in Amazonia. You know that kind of thing where you enter inside quicksand, no, or you inside mud. You get, we call it mud for bafut na chicha. No chicha. You enter mud, no, that mud is stick for your underfoot all side way to go. If you don't take time, really take them off, no, it will continue for the go with you. And that's what's going to happen to La Republique. This is a mess that they've gotten themselves in, and it's going to drain them. And at some point, political circumstances are going to change in their country. I mean, we see these protests that are going on by their teachers now, and other sectors are beginning to join their teachers union, and it will cascade into something that leads to the overthrow of the CPDM regime, irrespective of who takes it over from dictator Biya. Because I think I was made aware, I saw some report somewhere that they had created a vice presidency post in that country. So the countries need to realize that instead of wasting money on killing your people, if your money would have been better spent on developing good roads so that transport costs decrease, people can live in different parts of the country and get to work in a different part of the country, and that helps the development, the areas that they're living in, and electrification. Instead of spending money on war, improve electrification so that you can have increase in industries. What else? Improve environment for your kids, improve. For example, Chairman Fritz and even Dr. Dr. Epa, you feel a test for the one. For the US, no, when you go public school, they buy book. The public school gives you books. At least in the day when I went to school, they would give us they bought books. You show up in school, they sign out the book to you from each class. You take it home, you study from that book, you do your assignments from that book, and then you go home with it. As a matter of fact, even the U.S. government even gives you lunch at school. They feed you at school. Your children come to school. For those who can't really afford it, they get a free lunch. Those who cannot afford it, maybe they pay a reduced price. Those who are, can really afford, they're the ones who have to pay. Those are the type of things that governments are supposed to be doing instead of going to war against their citizens. And if these idiots who are in the government of French Cameroon would have been focused on these things, we wouldn't be in the situation where we're in now. Good governments don't use money on war. They use that money to give small business loans to people who are graduating from universities who have business ideas so that they can turn around and employ citizens so that citizens are unemployed. And because they're unemployed now, they get tempted to get into things where they have to go to war and fight their government. That's what good governments do. And that's what we, the Ambazonians, are definitely going to do, especially if I'm still alive and I still have the energy and the mouth to put pressure on those who are going to be in leadership roles. And I'm also going to be playing my part, to be a business owner and a job creator in Ambazonia. And I'm going to make sure that government makes favorable policies that enable people like me to be able to create employment, create an enabling environment where the people who are going to come to work for me or any of us are well educated so that they can compete in this very, very competitive world. You know who we're competing against, my brothers on this set with me. We're competing against the Americans, we're competing against the Germans, we're competing against the Japanese, and you know the amount of money these people have put in their education. And only a good government that is not involved in all the kind of corruption that we see going on in French Cameroon will be able to reinvest in its people to propel them to be able to be competitive in the world that we are in right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's so heartbreaking. It's so how intelligent or powerful does France and La République think that they can go and be asking for money from the diplomatic corps. They're also asking money from other countries just to come and fight an illegal war. I don't understand. And they think that just like Putin's inability to capture Ukraine within 24 hours as planned is the same thing. That Biya is, his inability to crush Ambazonia. He said it's those 2 cubes of sugar. So I don't understand. They just think that they'll just go into a country and just conquer them at this age of, at this present age. So, Dr. Epa, you were there. You know a lot of history. You know those companies that were back in the days in West Cameroon, back in the days in Southern Cameroon. Camwater was there. The CDC was there. All these companies were there. We had our mobile wing. We had the PWD Bamenda, PWD Kumba. Today, PWD the PWD Bamenda is just going to play football. The People's Work Department has nothing to show. Back in the days, PWD means that those are workers of the People's Work Department. But today they go and carry players from Yaoundé and they come and play soccer. Then they say, and then they're happy that PWD has won cup. Where is the company? Where is the People's Work Department? Back in the days, PWD, they had tractors, they had caterpillars, they had all kinds of instruments that they were building roads, they were doing construction. Where are they today? They just come and say, oh, PWD Bamenda, PWD Kumba. Where are they today? Dr. Epa?
Yes, it's a very good question. And I think it's lovable to see what La République is doing in our country. In fact, let me tell you that you can deceive some of the people all the time, but not all of the people all the time. Alternatively, you can deceive some of the people all the time, and not all of the people all the time. You see, when they manipulated our forefathers, Foncha, especially Muna, and the rest, they were so happy and they thought everything was dead. They changed the history. In fact, some of us were hand clappers when those things happened. And from Ahijo, then it came to Bia. And from Bia now, things became worse. And they thought that within 2 weeks, the 2 cubes of sugar would dissolve. But you know what? God knows what to do. He can do anything at any time and anywhere. You see, when you are doing something wrong, God gives you a time. He continuously looks at you. At a certain time, he turns his face away from you. And the devil takes over and makes sure that you continue to do the wrong things. God is not stupid to put those mineral resources only in Amazonian.
Yep.
A small section, 1/4 of their own area. Why did God not give those natural resources to the north, northern part of La République du Cameroon, or even in Betty area? Why is it only found? Is the sea only in Limbe, in Victoria? Is it not in Edea and all those areas? Why is it that they don't have the oil there? You think God is stupid? God has decided that to learn a lesson, especially as a lot of blood is being spilled. That is the effect of it. We are going to get the independence because God is on our side.
Amen.
And many things that they have taken over from us, power camp, we had our electricity. There was no problem. We had our PWD, Public Works Department. Whenever a small road, whenever road was spoiled between Kumba and Manfe or going to Bamenda, we had the caterpillars and even our tractors and the rest repairing the roads. We have our airports in Chico, the seaport in Victoria. We had not only in Chico, we had airport in Manfe, we had in Bamenda. Nguti had an airport. And all those developments that were there, Nanga Company, a lot of secondary and commercial colleges all over the area, both in the northern and the southern zones. And their children were coming to come and study in our areas. Now they speak English perfectly well, like us. Some of them even born in our area. They have taken over our schools now. And you think God is happy. The spoon that fed you, you take that spoon and throw it away. You decide to kill the people who helped you. That is why the economic sabotage is working, because we are right. Our boys are doing a very wonderful job. My prayer is that most of our people, I would say that they are Southern Cameroonians, not Amazonians. They still want to remain with La Republic because of their own personal benefits. That is my prayer for them to change over a new leaf. And those who say that they are neutral, I've spoken to quite a number of them. They said, Dr. Epa, oh no, you see, I'm not a politician. Oh, you are not a politician. Do you know what politics is? There is politics even between you and your children and your wife in the house. Say, why not contribute for humanitarian purpose? Say, no, I don't want to be involved there. But you want to come to Ambazonia and do your businesses, right? I will refer some of them, and I will refer again here. And go to the book of Revelation, chapter 2, and read verses 14 all the way to verse 20. When the church of Laodicea decided to look warm, and Christ was telling them that you cannot be lukewarm. You must be either hot or cold. And if you are going to remain lukewarm, Jesus said he was going to spit them out of his mouth. Those who are standing on the sidelines and saying that one, I think, and they think they are doing businesses on Ground Zero and in La Republique, I will say again, it is not my words, it's God's words. You'll be vomited out. You have to know exactly that this audio, this show right now will be played to you when you die. And the very words I'm saying now will be played to you by God, because you have a book of records in heaven. It's going to be played to you that you were warned, but you never listened. And many other warnings that you have had before. And I also want to warn the so-called churches and the pastors and the priests and the bishops and even the so-called popes everywhere. Pope does not make you go to heaven. You go to heaven by yourself. Salvation is personal. When you know that something is wrong and you support it, you get the reward for it. And that is why La Republique is getting the reward right now. What can I say? Only firepower will bring most of those people to the negotiation table. And for us to get that firepower, all the different groups have to work. No more only talking. Make very good speeches. I see all the so-called frontline leaders. I don't know how they have the name leader. With nothing to show what they are doing. And leadership is not like that.
Dr.
Can you hear me? Yes. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I want us to
Hello?
I want us to dive to this issue of La Republique going to change their constitution and putting in the position of a vice president, thinking that we can be lulled because they're gonna look for another person to put as vice president, then to convince us. So I want us to delve into this because this is what La Republique is good at. They always look at things that they think they can attract Ambazonians, and they will go and change their constitution as they have been changing. I want our technician to play something that he made. There's a video there that we have Secretary Chris talking about the vice president position. I want the technician to play that video. Let's see what Secretary Chris said about that. Yes.
Listen to
that's
me.
the video.
A change of leadership in La Republique du Cameroon doesn't favor our struggle at all. Because for as long as Biya stays there, he is a gift that keeps on giving to us. Why? The international community doesn't want to see him, even though they don't want to sanction him. They don't want to do to him what they are doing to Putin, to Putin in Russia. But they don't like him. They would prefer him to go. They believe if somebody else comes in, the person would want to sit down with Anglophones, as they call it, make some peace, negotiate with them for some federalism or federal structure. So any change in La République du Cameroon, no matter who takes over, isn't a good change for us, for the struggle, Ambazonian struggle, ladies and gentlemen. No, it will not be. So I am not praying that Mr. Biya should leave. I pray he stays there and, if possible, dies there. Let him die there. So this is why it is important for us to discuss any change, any political change taking place in La République du Cameroon. If Ingo comes in, becomes the next president of La République du Cameroon, he would want to sit down. They call him a hardliner, as I learned, but listen, no leader who takes over in La République du Cameroon would want to ignore, would want to continue with this war, because they know how much the war is eating deep into the economic and political fabric, social fabric of La République du Cameroon, which is why it is dangerous. Which is why, let me put it this way, we have to put our house in order. We have to put our house in order, and when I talk about our house, I am referring to the leadership of Ambazonia, the different stakeholders in Ambazonia as a whole. Because if Mr. Biya is gone, and they bring in somebody else, ladies and gentlemen, that person would want to sit down and negotiate, and we must negotiate with one voice, nothing else but a free and independent Ambazonia. Again, listen to me carefully. Whoever takes over in La République du Cameroon would want to sit down and negotiate with Ambazonians, which is why Ambazonians must show themselves to be ready. Let's forget about the cacophony out there they call infighting. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, there may be infighting, but listen, the road or the route remains the same, the destination remains the same. I am looking forward to these days, talking to all the leaders, all the major leaders, stakeholders in this struggle, because it is critical. It is critical that we come together and think about what happens when Yaoundé is leaderless or going through a transition. Ladies and gentlemen, I was told by people in Somaliland that, you know what, they were able to take control of their country not because there was no political leadership in Somalia, not because they defeated Somalia. No, they were able to take control of their country. I'm referring to Somaliland. They were able to take control of their country, ladies and gentlemen, because of the transition in Somalia, where their leaders were fighting to take over who leads that country, Somalia. And the Somalilanders seized the opportunity, took their country, and they kept it up till today. As Yaoundé begin to think of these transitions, ladies and gentlemen, as Yaoundé begin to think and plan for these transitions, we in Ambazonia must begin to plan too. We must not miss an opportunity that could give us our country. And again, I would really love to reach out to every stakeholder in Ambazonia.
Thank you.
In the coming days, we have to discuss the way forward as we see Yaoundé making these changes. And by
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see for yourself the manipulation of La Republique. We all know what La Republique is capable of doing. You know, they have done a lot of manipulation trying to think that we can fall into that. You know, but how can any aggressor nation talk of rebuilding another nation it invaded without any maybe ceasefire or settling of the peace? So it's just like they are looking for means. You know about the national dialogue, then they gave us some kind of form of special status and all those brouhaha that that they're doing. Now they have brought in this position of vice president to fool us, to think that we can say, okay, now maybe the next president can be an Ambazonian, But we all know the games, The position of a prime minister is just like the fifth in rank. It means that even if Paul Biya dies today, Ambazonia cannot even think of that. So let's just forget about that. But we are talking about this kind of manipulation that they have been doing. Dr. Ngwambe, you know better from the standpoint of how France and La Republique are doing this their manipulation. They're going to do all these illegal. They say they want to do reconstruction. Sometimes they say they form the commission of bilingualism. Sometimes they form the commission of DDR center. All those nonsense that they're doing.
So I mean, for me personally, I know no Ambazonian born of an Ambazonian mother and an Ambazonian man will fall for this kind of funny trap, because even if a person of Ambazonian descent was made the vice president of French Cameroon, they would probably put like a vice president delegate there, so that delegate is the one who can really make all the decisions, and that delegate will be a francophone. So I don't know. There's no Ambazonian who would fall for that thing. But I really want to go back and touch on Secretary Chris's statement. I'm glad you played that statement in its full entirety and its full context, because you know what, there were some funny people out there that cut a piece of Secretary Chris's statements and try to make it seem as if he was promoting some funny federalism idea, some kind of nonsense like that. But anyway, the point that Secretary Chris was making inside that full statement was that, you know what, Amazonians, irrespective of what group you're in, we're going to have to find a way to talk to each other and understand each other so that we can be able to manage our territory when French Cameroon starts falling apart, like what happened between Somaliland and Somalia. Somalia is the bigger part. Somalia started fighting each other. They had all those warlords. You all remember them, Mohammed Farah Aidid and all that kind of stuff now that was going on there. And Somaliland, they got their act together and said, you know what, you all can be in your confusion. We are going to learn to respect the different ideas that exist within our country and accommodate those different ideas and govern. And that's what I'm hoping that we Ambazonians are going to be able to do. I get it. AGOPC is, suspected of committing all kinds of funny atrocities. The Dr. Sako IG, people have huge suspicions on them about mismanagement of funds and all these things like that. The Restoration IG led by President Marianta is here now. Sokadef is there. Ayuktabe is there. All the other plethora of groups are there. We need to learn to talk to each other, my fellow Ambazonians, because one thing I can tell you all 100% is that I am not fighting for the liberation of Ambazonia for it to be a one-party state. So for those of you who are out there who think it is only your group that is going to take us to Boya and all that kind of funny mentality, there's certain bad habits that you create now that when you get to where you're going, you continue in those bad habits. And if you continue to have this mentality that it's only you that's going to take the Boya, when we get to that Boya, you may not be so willing to tolerate people who have a different perception of doing things or a different way of doing things from you. And what will you start to do? You start to do like what French Cameroon used to do in those days before multipartyism came up. As a matter of fact, they still do it now. I remember reading stories of Madame Kawala going out to do her campaigns, and they would pick her up, lock her up, and all those funny things. That's what you all will do when we get to Ambazonia. You cannot tolerate different political points of view now. When we get to Ambazonia, that's the same funny business you'll be engaged in. You'll take people from the other side who don't agree with you, you lock them up, and we need to get out of that mentality. So I really appreciate Secretary Chris. I know some people will say he's the worst person to be talking about collaboration because of some of the things that he said in the past. But hey, if Mark Barretta can come on his TV and say that he withdraws that statement about if he had a bullet or whatever and that he would shoot him, Dos Equis Chris still needs to keep an eye on Mark Barretta. But at least if Mark Barretta can come out and apologize for that, let's give each other a chance. Let us learn to talk to each other. You know, my brother Fritz, one of the things I appreciated about you when you had your show on ABC TV is that you were able to bring people on your show who had different political leanings or different ideological leanings within the IG and let them have a conversation with each other. There's so much that we get to understand from each other when we sit down and talk to each other. And that's what I'm hoping that we Amazonians will do, because La Republic is going to fall. And when La Republic falls, I don't want us in Amazonia to end up in a situation where we're fighting each other like what happened in Somalia, where they ended up with all their different warlords and they started fighting each other. And then maybe one section of Amazonia has its act together and they end up fighting themselves. That's not what I want. So Amazonia, let's get together. Let's talk. Let's talk.
Thank you, Dr. Gwambe. You nail it. You nail it, bro. I like that. Reverend Chang, I know you are you are adamant activist against this manipulation and reckless and malicious intentions of La Republique. You know better that in the diplomatic realms, La Republique is one of those nations that is not democratic. There's nothing democratic in them, because at any time they can wake up in the morning and just change the government, change the parliament, or the members. They can change the constitution at any time. I don't see who really believe that that is democratic. See, the prime minister has been there. Then you had that colonial. Now they want to put somebody who is called a VP, but they have no portfolio. Then they think that they can convince us with that position to stop our struggle. That is a big lie. But I want to remind Ambazonians that what we are running from the bad governance, the manipulation, the exploitation, the neo-colonization against our people, against us as a people. That's what we are running from. And we cannot go back to that system. We cannot. So what we are trying to do here is trying to make sure we respect our institutions, our constitutions. We respect those people who are elected officials. Once you are elected, you're elected by the people. You are not appointed. So nobody can change an elected position to an appointment position. I don't want to go back to that, but I want to emphasize here, because Reverend Chan will come in here to tell us what he thinks about this change of constitution in La Republique and the re-election of Kabaye Yege Jibri of all. Kabaye Yege Jibri, the oldest man I can think of, maybe 90-something years old. He is the one that has been re-elected. I mean, this is an abomination. Reverend Chan.
All right, okay. Chairman Fritz, it is very, very alarming what the Republic of Cameroon thinks they're doing to entice some power mongers from among us. The economic sabotage is really putting that country on a limping situation. But do you know that they do not want the war to cease? Because they are using their connections to solicit, to get funding, get aids, and get loans, and struggling to keep southern Cameroons part and parcel of the Republic of Cameroon, so that in paying the loans, we must be involved. It is ridiculous. You just talked about Kabaye Jibril. What about Nyan Jibenji in Marshall? He has equally been re-elected to head the Senate. All right. So all of this octogenarian leadership or regime is not doing us any good. And we have just heard that the manipulation of the Constitution every now and then is even to make it impossible even for those who qualify to step into that leadership position to actually go in. So we have learned, we have seen that. Let us move in unison. Let us know that we have to tighten our government. We have to tighten our restoration quest in such a way that they cannot even go to bribe, to corrupt people any longer. Those that they are trying to use from our own camp, from southern Cameroon and Amazonia, to fight and give a wrong narrative out there will soon settle on lies. Because nobody who listens to what Secretary Chris said would believe for once that Secretary Chris was gunning for federation. Nobody who listened to what our mother, the President Marianta, said will think that this was because they gapped her in CBDM ropes, and that she is of that Republic of Cameroon sympathy. Now, we know that as long as we continue to allow the Republic of Cameroon and not put better institutions, they will continue. Do you know, I'm sorry to say this, do you know that the Republic of Cameroon has some of the best suggestions and articles in their constitution than other countries? They have, and so they use this. How do you think they're striving in foreign policy? It is because they use these various things. They use what you just call bilingualism and so on committee. They use the DDR centers. They use this and they use the reconstruction projects as endeavors, to solve the issue. So we ought to do counter. We have to do better than that and present it to the international community. If we do not do that and present that, especially if we minor on our foreign affairs department and policy to impact the world, they will continue to try. Our enemy will continue to pry on us. So we will have this time to puncture every mechanism that the Republic of Cameroon puts in place there and brings the United Nations and brings here and there to give the impression, even to the people, like I just mentioned earlier, the diplomatic representation in Yaoundé. They come back and say, look at how we have tried, look at how we have gone out, look at what we are doing. And so if we do not come back to one person, we're just talking about the Senate and the Parliament. It's made up of a few political parties. But when we talk about the Senate, we don't talk about CPDM. But yes, CPDM is the majority. Okay? The lone person who contested out of CPDM candidature had one vote, one. And the others, CPDM just swept everything. What do you mean? It means that every other political party in the Senate or in the Parliament, they voted for this, for Kabayege Jikru and Nyat and Jibenji Maxwell. Okay, so let's leave that and say they have a mechanism to continue. They have a narrative to sell to the international community and seek their sympathy. And you know that in diplomacy, it is the issue of interest. What interests are we showing out there? What are the interests that we are showing to get this country, to get that country, to get this? These are the strategies that we must meditate on, actualize on, agree upon, and then push them out, like former speaker said, so that when any person has an opportunity from any angle, we are talking the same thing, we are pressing on the same thing. We are pressing for total independence restoration for Southern Cameroon. We are pressing for total decolonization of our motherland. We are using this today to say to Ambazonians, do not give up, do not be discouraged. Don't minimize what these people are doing. If we make sure that the first DDR center was not set up, they will not get something to present to the United Nations. They will not get something to present to other nations. But since they are doing and moving from one place to another, from one strategy to the next, they're also making their own evaluation. Do you think they really think they are losing? Do you think the Republic of Cameroon thinks they are really losing? That would be a deception. Now, we have to redouble our efforts very fast behind the president and put think tanks, strategies that will bombard all what has been sustaining a Republic of Cameroon up to now, in the home and in the foreign policy. Then we can actualize our independence. There's a good number of things that we have mentioned there. All right, let me come back to you.
Thank you. Because of time, we have much to discuss, but due to time, I will just ask the panelists to give their closing remarks, and we can round up this show for today. We, the people of Ambazonia, we are lovers of strong institutions, and I want to believe that we have to strengthen our institutions because we are trying to build a unique country, a country that respects the law. No one is above the law. A country that hold the interim government accountable, hold the counties accountable, hold the LGs accountable. That is the kind of country we want. We don't want a country that will make the leader too strong to be held accountable. We want a country with strong institutions that is grounded. I'm telling you because it works miracle as we see this in America. We see where a president is impeached. There's no joke about that. The president is impeached and he goes for trial and everything is done. They vote for his removal. If they vote for Trump's removal passed, Trump would have been removed from office. There's no joke about that. So when I see people going and put all those conspiracy around, I believe in the institution. I believe in the constitution. And anything that we are trying to build that will have any similitude with La Republic, then I'll better go back and join La Republic. Because we cannot be dying to do the same thing that La Republic is doing. We want to build a nation of honest people, a nation of truth and accountability. Let me end. Dr. Nwambe, can you end up with your final thoughts?
Yes. Thank you, Chairman Fritz. I hope. Let me make sure I unmuted myself. Yes. Yeah, Chairman Fritz. Thank you so much, bro, for inviting us to your platform today. It was great being with you, Dr. Epa, Reverend Chang, my people. Then, it was great having this conversation to you. I want to, join Madam President Marianta in recognizing, Field Marshal of Ambazonia, our brother Oliver, Field Marshal Inso Boo, Field Marshal Tenkobo, Field Marshal No Pity, my brother Grandpa of Bali, General Okoro, my brother from Santa, and all the generals and commanders and foot soldiers that, are running towards the danger to make sure that we are free. I'm so grateful to all of you, and I'm so proud of you. Don't mind all these things that we're doing in the diaspora. We're going to figure it out. We're going to get together, and we're going to deliver Ambazonia. Now, this last statement that I want to make is directed towards the international community, specifically the President of the United States. I saw in the news recently that President Joe Biden of the United States, he called President Putin a murderous dictator and a thug. President Biden, what do you think we Ambazonians think of Dictator Biya? This guy has been murdering our people for a long, long, long time now. All of you, I always remind all of you about Gwangandi, as a brother of ours who was murdered by the regime of Dictator Biya. So Dictator Biya is also a murderous thug. that we Ambazonians are dealing with. When we hear the West, they talk about defending democracy, and I ask myself, what about, they want to defend the democracy of Ukraine, they need to protect Ukraine. And I ask myself, what about the democracy of Ambazonia? The international community, through their mischief, handed a democracy over to the dictatorship of the traitor Amadou Ahidjo. Why didn't the international community ensure that we Ambazonians had what we needed to be able to defend our democracy that Foncha, Ndele, and Joa gave to us? But they're quick to do it for Ukraine. Well, we're fortunate enough that things have come back around again full circle, and Ambazonians are in the process of defending our democracy. We are in the process of defending our right to live and exist free as a state that is governed by Ambazonians and for Ambazonians. So to the international community, to President Joe Biden, to all of you who believe in defending democracy, Ambazonia needs your assistance. We are ready to fight, and we are already fighting much longer than the Ukrainians are. If there was even a possibility for us to even partner with Ukraine to be able to do some things so that we can, achieve our freedom, we're open to doing it. But please, if you believe in fighting for democracy and defending democracy, Ambazonia is there. My fellow Ambazonians, we love you, and have a good night.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for that closing remark. I want to call on Dr. Epa to give us his own final thoughts about what we discussed. Dr. Epa, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Let me just use a few minutes. I want to thank the Ambazonian people who have been listening. I want to thank all the field marshals, all the commanders, all the generals, all the foot soldiers, all the restoration forces on ground zero. I want to thank everybody who is in the refugee camps in Nigeria, Ghana, all over the world. I want to thank all those who are in prison. We are praying that you should continue to have a hope. Hope is alive, and I want to say that we are going to reach ground zero, either now or in a few years to come. I want to say that you did mention about the changes in La République du Cameroon. I want to advise all the Ambazonians that we should not even be thinking about what they are doing. Everything that they are doing is fake, is planned with France. And it's just like when Kamto came, and some of us who are from southern Cameroon were trying to be with him. And that is the same thing which is being done by trying to have a vice president and also electing the Cavalier, Gabriel, and others to remain in the Senate and the parliament. It's a manipulation, and Dr. Ngwambe mentioned about Reverend Chang mentioned how they have written the good in their constitution and what they have done. That is what most African states do. They write something very solidly. If it is in French, very good French. If it is in English, very good English, solid. And they will say that they will not abuse human rights, but they go around and do not even do what they have written. We have also seen how the so-called ASS2 in Washington purported to be carried out by the former Ambazonian president, Dr. Sako. I've read their resolutions, well written, solid, good grammar, put everything there, but they say cash. Or they said the Resolution Council, it should not include those who represent the countries, and then the country coordinators also, and also the groups. For everything that they do, it is well written, just the same like La République. And they are written that, oh, no election until we get to Cameroon, until we get to Ambazonia. So that is the same mentality. And I want the Ambazonian people to understand we have to reject that outright, because we cannot have dictatorship in Ambazonia. We have to reject it outright. Then you are supporting to go back to La République du Cameroon. Why not just remain with La République du Cameroon? That is my worry. Okay.
Thank you.
So I want to thank all of you. I hope that this show has been so great, and I want to thank all the panelists and you, Chairman Mesodi. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor, for that closing remark. I appreciate you coming, and always thank you a lot. You always show up despite your tight schedule. Reverend Chang, you have the final say.
All right, let me thank you very much, Chairman Mesodi, for this. And I must thank our technician working behind the scenes for us to be heard around the world. Thank you, viewers of ABS TV. We solicit your support as usual. Now, a thank you is not enough for all our restoration fighters. We are praying for you, our field marshals, our generals, our lieutenants, our commanders, our foot soldiers, those our mothers, sisters who are caring for them, caring for this and that. Those of you in the diaspora, you have your simple square meal, you are now pinching it so that some can reach Plan Zero, some can reach the people who are displaced and dispersed all over the globe. We are saying a big thank you. You are doing that unto the Lord Almighty. And I would like to say that it is about time that doing whatever you are doing, that you are intended to do it as unto God and not as unto man, and not for your stomach's sake, because many people have used the issue of Southern Cameroon's freedom to feed fact, while others who are paying the ultimate price are in a mourning situation every now and then without consolation. It is indeed a God-ordained revolution and a restoration. So I leave you with the 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 9 to 10. It says in that portion of scripture that just as Jannes and Jambres opposed Moses, so are there persons today who oppose the way, they oppose the truth, they oppose the things of God, and the scripture says they shall not go very far. If you are there, you are a household enemy for the liberation of Ambazonia, I will call on you as a minister of the gospel that you repent. Bring us your questions, bring us your prayer requests. We will pray for you and pray with you. If you are also there fighting and sacrificing and risking your life for the freedom of this new nation, and you do not know the Lord, it is about time we connected with the Most High, with the Supreme Lord of this nation. We have called him our watchman. You know the duty of a night watchman. They don't sleep, they keep guard so that the place is not broken into. So let us put God first. Let us be assured that our victory is going to come. Let us know that those who are creating enmity between us, we don't hate them. That we differ in opinion doesn't make us enemies. We must hear the call of our Lady President to move us one nation, Ambazonian interest first, total respect. Let us disagree sharply with those things that we disagree with. We really disagree with the fact that a tenure of office is expired and the body that kept a person in office gives a gratuity for 6 months, and then it is abused, and the institution is mocked and ridiculed and tried to be destroyed. For those of you who are standing for the truth and standing with the truth, we have one restoration council of the interim government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. And I will use this time to thank the Restoration Council very much. I will thank Dr. Mwambe so much, and I will thank you fellow viewers. You have heard about the financial drive. Let me not go without touching that. Please do something to fund drive to do this ARF funding with your heart, with your little, so that the goals, the lofty goals of this new government, this transitional government will be achieved. We know that when the first 100 days in office pass, everybody will be expecting to be, and we believe it's going to be positive because God is with us. Who can battle with the Lord? If God be for us, who can be against us? So God is with us. Those who are against us, they are losers already. Thank you very much. Stay blessed and stay tuned to our various media channels.
Thank you.
Support them.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I can't thank you enough. You guys have done a great job. I can see a lot of positive comments, a lot of people commenting positively, and that's a great thing. Fellow Ambazonians, thank you for watching. I want to tell you that, let me quote one American president, Benjamin Franklin. He said that there are three sorts of people in the world: those who are immovable, the people who don't get it or who don't want to do anything about it. There are people who are movable, that is, people who see the need to change and are prepared to listen to it. And there are people who move, people who want to make things happen. Where do you fall, Ambazonia? Are those people who don't want to make anything happen, or you fall within those people who want to make things happen? Fellow Ambazonians, we are building a new country, Ambazonia, a new world on the horizon. So we have to work together. We need everybody on board: teachers, nurses, engineers, entrepreneurs, journalists, doctors, whatever you are. We have to build a country together. I've traveled over the world. I've seen how people love their country. Look at the Ukrainians. See how they are fighting for their country. They know that is all they have. If they lose Ukraine, they have no more country. From 16 years old to 66 years old, they are in the battlefield fighting. That is how we have to love our country. That is sacrifice. That's what we call sacrifice to your country. This is not about me. It's not about anybody. It's not about any leader. It's not about whoever. This is about your own identity. If you don't fight for it, you lose it. All of us, all over the world, we are all refugees. Forget about the name diaspora. We are not diasporans. We are Ambazonians. If we lose our country, we don't have any country. Because even if we are in America, we are in Europe, we are wherever, we are not at peace. Don't think that when you see us smiling in Europe that we are at peace. Everybody want to go back home. No Ambazonian can be proud of living abroad. No Ambazonian. So let no one fool you. That's why you see us abroad still fighting. No matter if we're in the diaspora, we'll do our best to fight because we know that we have one home and only one home, Ambazonia. Thank you very much, and God bless you, and see you all next week.
Vamos